All right, I am live. Let me make sure my sound and audio is good. Yes, okay, we got audio everywhere. We're beautiful. All right, well, I was about to say good morning, but this is Cosmic Matters. Thank you for joining. I am Matt Washington, the host of Cosmic Matters, and I created the This Matters video series to bring you a little bit of a different perspective on the world that we live in. And by doing so, I hope to entertain your brain for a little while on a Sunday here. So as we dive in, I'll get some. Everyone always comes in later to the show, and then all the things that they ask all the questions that I already covered. But I don't care. I'm going to cover them early, right away, right off the bat, while no one's here. Well, one person's here. Hello already. Let me put the comments live. Show comments. Make sure everyone can see the comments. We are doing part 2 of last week's Determining Truth. And I'll do a recap of what we covered last week in a minute. But to kind of recap what's going on with me, as you can see, I still have my eye patch on. And I have one more day. I do have an eye. So see there, it's not like damaged or anything like that. But I do have, I'm diabetic, and I had a blood vessel in the back of my eye rupture, and I had whatchamacallit, I had blood basically in my eye, inside my, whatever that viscous fluid is inside of your eye. So there's still blood floating around in there. If I close this eye, I could see now out of it, but there was a lot and I couldn't see out of that eye. And so the eye patch that I'm wearing right now, as the blood kind of gets reabsorbed and filtered out, I can pretty much see, but it's just easier if I wear the eye patch because I could see clearly out of this eye. Now, the thing is, though, you'll see I'm not wearing glasses today because this is what happened to my glasses. I don't know if you could see that, but I was wearing my brand new glasses that I just got 2 weeks ago. And not only did the lenses pop out, but the little strings here broke. So anyway, so now I don't have glasses. And then my previous set of glasses I broke, so I have a monocle I could use, but this just looks even more stupid. So I could use my monocle here if I need to see, because I can't really see up close. So I have that option, or I have this option, which were my backup glasses that I could put on. But my backup glasses are worse for me to see because this side's a little cloudy, because I was my backup glasses, I was making my bed and I was washing my sheets, and I left my glasses got wrapped up in my sheets, and then they went in the washer, and then they went in the dryer, and so now they're all scratched up. So I'm buying 2 pairs of glasses today. So I'll have, these will become the backup to the backups. I'll have a backup, and I won't have to use monocles. So anyway, that's my whole eye situation, in case anyone cares. And so I'm still wearing the patch. I really don't need to. I got maybe another week with the patch, but it just makes it a little bit easier for me to be clear. And it also, as always, it matches my stereo persona. For those of you who can't see, I'm on stereo. By the way, where are we right now? We are live on Philosophy Man 76. We're on the stereo app. We are on YouTube Live, and we are on TikTok Live right now. And we do this every Sunday from 10 to 12. We talk about science, and we talk about space and philosophy, which is the purpose of Cosmic Matters. This is episode 16, Determining Truth, part 2. We did part 1 last week. It's not up on Spotify yet. By the way, you can find all these up on Spotify under Cosmic Matters. And I think we are, like I said, we're on episode 16. Episodes 1 through 15 are uploaded. So Actually, no, 1 through 14 are uploaded. 15 I'll upload today, and then you'll have 16 after I'm done processing this. So yeah, so that's exciting. So let's go over. So the purpose of today is what I wanted to cover today, and I'm going to try to probably keep today's podcast short, just because of my whole seeing situation, and also I just took a Zyrtec Claritin, because my allergies are acting up too. So I'm sneezing, and it's been a whole thing, but doesn't matter. We're here for you every Sunday to talk about the bigness of the universe and our place in it, no matter what. So last week, just to recap what we talked about to get us up to speed for this week, for this idea of determining truth, is we talked about objective truth versus subjective truth, and how really, when it boils down to it, that there really is, we went through a little bit of Rene Descartes. We went through the Cartesian, I wonder, did we even finish going through the Cartesian circle? But anyway, Descartes, the whole I think, therefore I am, and therefore knowing that the only real one truth is that you exist. Now, where Descartes went with that is that he went into the whole idea of there being a clear and distinct idea that a God exists. Yes, we did cover this last year, because if I exist, then my basically what I am is my thoughts, and if I have this thought of a clear and distinct being that's perfectly good, then that would be a part of that being. In order for that thought to exist, in order for that being, it has to exist. Like, if something that's ultimately good, then existence would be a part of that. And if there is a good, ultimate good being, then that being would make it so that my clear and distinct thoughts I was not being fooled, right, by the evil demon, right? But that creates a whole circle. So basically what you're saying is that your clear and distinct thoughts give you God in this scenario, and then God makes sure that your clear and distinct thoughts are true, right? And so you can't that's what's called the Cartesian circle. So we talked about how, so then if we just go with that concept, then the only real truth is that you exist. That's the only one we have. Now, from there, we then talked about games, and we've talked about this on many different episodes here, where we talked about how we have different levels of magnification, and we are all playing different games at different levels, right? So at this level, we're playing the human game, where I'm talking to you with an itchy eye, and you're listening, and we have conversations, and we live our lives, and we set up a society. But on the cellular level, I have all kinds of things going on in my body. There's right now, there's things going on in my head that's telling my eyes to itch, that's telling my nose to run, and there's all this stuff going on that level inside me that I have no clear distinction of, right? So on that level, hey, good morning, Worm. So we got some people coming into the stereo audience. On that level, there's a whole different level of truths, right? What's good and what's bad, what's good for, and I'm going to do a whole talk on morality, where good and bad are also a subjective thing. There's no objective good or bad. There's only good for certain things, or good for the game that we're playing, or bad for the game that we're playing, right? So as far as the things that are going on my body, are they good for my body? And so there's a whole nother level of truth going on that level. And then on the space level, on a much bigger level, with the sun going around the universe and all kinds of stuff, there's different truths on the macro level, on that level. So there's all kinds of different levels of truth going on. So, well, let me see. We got a message. I like to play messages right as they come in. I try not to get too far behind on messages. Let's see what we got from Worm.
Hey, Patty, what's up? It's your boy Vermillion in the building. Good morning.
Good morning.
I checked out the replay of the last show. It was interesting. So I'm interested in what you got lined up there.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate it. That makes me feel good because I don't think anybody actually listens to replays, but apparently people do. So that makes me feel good about what we're working on here. And again, I just do this. Hey, what's up, Devo? I do this to just for fun. This is something I like talking about. I enjoy talking about these types of topics. I don't usually get to talk to people about these type of topics. So that's what I do on Sunday. I talk to the people who want to listen. How did I lose my eye? I did already cover that, but it's not lost. It's here. See, there you go. I am not. By the way, my avatar in stereo has the patch, and now my real life person has the patch, right? So yeah, so I stared into the sun too long. All right, I'm gonna try to. I always get sidetracked by comments, and I love the comments, and I love the talk. So, but let me get through what I was talking about. So games, right? So we are playing. There's different levels of magnification of reality, and there's different games that are being played, and the rules of one game do not apply. So we have to understand when we're talking about, for example, truth. We want to talk about the truth as it applies to our game, not objective reality, right? So what do I mean by that? And this is, again, what we talked about last week, but just to recap, is, like if I'm a volleyball player, I like to go play volleyball. So when I'm playing volleyball, I have to, there's certain rules that apply to me on the court. And there's 3 hits, and there's certain ways you can hit the ball, and you can't just I can't just catch the ball and walk around with it. There's things that I can't. Now, in real life, I can catch a ball and walk around all day long. Then there's no problem with that. The rules are not broken. But in the game that I'm deciding to play, that we are all agreeing to, that are on the court, we are agreeing to play by these certain rules, and we call those good or bad. This is something you did good. This is something you did bad, and these are the agreed upon rules. So the same thing has to come when we talk about truth. When we're talking about truth, because we know there are no objective truths, if we're going to agree to that, or the only objective truth is that I exist. And when I say I don't mean me as Matthew Washington. I mean me as all of us, the universe, the whole thing. But within the universe, games are being played, and one of the games that we're playing is the human game, right? Where we have a society, we have humans on this little rock floating around this star, and the humans have decided to play this game called the being a human being, having societies, having rules. And so what we need to do, and this is why when we talked about last week having personal truths versus societal truths, fundamental truths, we have to come up with ways that we can agree on how to play the game. Because if we don't agree on the rules of the game, then the game doesn't work, right? If I'm playing volleyball and one team thinks that we should be able to hit the ball 5 times, and one team's like, no, we should hit it 3 times. If we don't agree before we play the game, then the game's not going to be very fun. It's not going to work, right? So So this is the same thing with humanity. We as humans, in order to survive, we don't have, sharp claws. We are not very particularly fast to other animals. We're not particularly strong to most other animals. So the way that we had to survive is by relying on each other, by being in communities, helping each other. And so because we had to rely on each other, and that's part of the human game, our minds evolved in saying that the ones who didn't do well with others, right? Who wanted to trek it out on their own, typically died. All right. So, I was talking, I was talking with Muhammad once, and we talked about, that we are the descendants of cowards, right? The people who ran away the fastest were the ones who survived. Right. So, in most cases, it was just being a joke. That's why we have the fight or flight. It's either, and we pump ourselves up and we get these adrenaline boosts, and we're able to do certain things when it comes to those two emotions, because it was our survival, right? That's how we survived. And the same thing as far as, it's one of the things that actually holds us back in today's world, because our bodies and our mind is evolved for the survival of, the millions of years as our minds evolved, right? It's not designed for the 21st century, where I always say there's two motivating emotions that we have. One is desire and one is fear. All right. So those are the two things that make us do things. And unfortunately, fear is a stronger motivation, has a stronger, what's the word I'm looking for? Effect. It has a stronger effect on our personality. This is why people, won't start new businesses, or they won't do this, or they're afraid to do. They're afraid to fail, and will go for the safe, secure thing, as opposed to the let's go out and using desire. It's like, okay, well, I could start my own business, or I could find a safe, secure job. Well, if I start my own business, there's a lot of fear there, right? Even though we know that the most rich people on our planet, the people who have all the things that we desire, all happen to be, business people, right? Who started their own business or own their own companies, as far as that goes. So that's a whole nother topic. But understanding that that's where our fears make a lot of our decisions, and that's just how we evolved. So getting back to the point, all of our laws, killing other people, lying to other people, our morality comes from these concepts, that it's okay to kill a lobster because it doesn't look like us. It's not a part of the human game. It's less okay to kill a dog because a dog kind of looks like us. It looks like it has emotions and understanding, and has, it has feelings. We can kind of relate to it a little bit more. But we definitely cannot kill another human, right? If someone's dog bites a human, oh my goodness, then the dog is, got to be killed, right? Because and this is why we get into racial, and then breaks us down even to more like, okay, well, those humans look more like us. Anytime we want to justify treating other humans poorly, we create words to dehumanize them, right? Those are animals, they're criminals, they're stupid, they're aliens, illegal immigrants, right? They're not humans, they're illegals, right? They're this, they're that. We put them into a group, and we try to create them to be lesser than, so we feel okay with our actions towards them, right? Even though we kind of know they're humans. And so this is how we get over that. Anything that's not us, we're okay. If it's outside of our group, we're more okay with treating them in a poor sense, right? So all that being said, that's where our morality comes out of that. It comes out of our survival instincts. So now we have to say, though, how are we going to then? We have to come up with some kind of standards. Someone's writing something. I just can't see it. So I'm going to throw my monocle on because I do want to kind of see what this person is commenting. Give me a second here. Monocle uploaded. Broken. Monocle meaning broken glasses. Did you hear the story where the planets in our solar system might have pyramids? Oh, yes. I saw something about a pyramid on Mars. I showed it. And how long do you think humans have lived? 2 million years? Depends on what you're going to call a human. Are we going to call like Neanderthals human? Are we talking humanoids, or are we talking humans? Homo sapiens. I would say close to, I would say no less than 100 million years for human beings, Homo sapiens. Only way to escape Earth is to become a billionaire. For right now, actually, the only way to escape Earth is, well, you can die, or you can be a robot. You can escape. Voyager escaped, or all the robots escape Earth too. But eventually, obviously, we want to get everyone off of Earth. Did you hear the story where other worlds are hybrids of animals? Therefore, Earth humans are hybrid monkeys. But there might have been a world with a phase of dog hybrid. Yeah. Okay. Well, that actually is. I'm glad you said that, because that brings me to my. Because I'm going to get back to truth. I have 2 videos I want to play today. But before I get to that, I was kind of waiting because we might have some guests, either Muhammad or Lady Boss might be coming up, but they're not here yet. I kind of wanted to hold off on the space stuff today, but since we just had that comment, I'm going to bring up a space thing. So I'm going to, so I have 2 videos I want to go over today. Number 1, I want to go over this space news. And then second, I'm going to come back to this truth. And I want to go into the Neil deGrasse Tyson video where it's called, How Do We Tell What's Real Online? Which is what kind of started this whole concept of talking about what is truth, because we're now getting to the point where we have to be able to determine this. It's something that I think our education system needs to be teaching. Like I remember when I was in, I want to say middle school, and we were learning about imaginary numbers, right? And I remember going, why the hell do I need to learn about imaginary numbers? Like, I don't even know how to figure out the real numbers. Now I got to figure out the imaginary ones. And I thought it was stupid. And I was like, why are we learning this stuff? And I remember having a teacher once tell me, well, I was like, I can just do this on a calculator. And like, well, you're not always going to have a calculator on you. And then I was like, okay, well, now we do. I always have my phone on me. We have a calculator on us at all times, right? And all the things that we have to learn, we're almost to the point where, AI will pretty much tell us anything we need to know. Like, we used to have encyclopedias, we had to look things up and do these reports, and all the foundations of our education system is all based upon that. And it's like any kind of fact, there's no reason for us to keep all these facts and ideas and thoughts and understanding them in our head, because we can look them up, right? At any time, we can come up with these answers. And people will be like, well, but I look up stuff all the time, and it's actually a lot more accurate than me trying to remember, because our memories are not that good. We forget stuff constantly. I have been wrong at times where I was like, I would have bet every single penny that I have that I was right about something that happened, and turns out it was wrong, or a song title, or who sang this, or these kind of things. So why do we have to try to keep these things in our head? But I would say in the future, our education system should be around on determining truth, right? Because the way AI works now, there's so much stuff. Like I've been watching these videos of like these guys, these YouTube videos of like somebody who goes up to someone in a store and they take a picture of them. And then they go, hey, is this you? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, well, you're going to get in trouble. Security has a video of you, stealing some merchandise. And he's like, a person's like, what are you talking about? And then they literally have a video of the person stealing merchandise, like, because the AI creates a short video of them doing that, or, kissing another woman, or they have all kinds of crazy stuff that they do, like on the spot. So we have to be able to learn how to decipher truth. We also have to learn, and this is what I think education system needs to turn to, as opposed to, in 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and with the Mayflower, and learning dates and factoids, which we don't need to learn. Like we can just look them up if we need that information. But the time should be spent on learning skills, how to actually, one of the skills that have completely lost. Well, there used to be civics, We used to have a civics class. That's totally gone out of the way. Shouldn't we know the laws? I remember when I was doing videos about about um, I was doing videos about the election. I think it was when Trump was going against Hillary the first time, and then I was maybe in my I guess for 2016. So I was in my mid 40s, early 40s, and I was like, you know what? How does the actual electoral college work? Like, I don't understand it. And I literally had to look it up, and I did some research on it. I'm like, why? I've never been taught this, and if I was taught it, I don't remember. I don't remember it. I think I would have remembered if when I was taught how the electoral college works. You would think every single person in our country should know how the voting system in our country works. Right. And I don't mean, oh, it works like, when I say electoral college, like the fact that, I understood the concept of, each state has a certain number of electors, and then, you win that. And then if you win the state, you get all the electors in that state. I understood that part. That I understood. But I didn't understand that who the electors are. Like the electors then get together and then they cast the vote based upon what the people say. And guess what? The electors, I am totally off tangent right now. If you came here for tangents, this should be called cosmic tangents, but whatever. That's what happens when I don't have a guest. But anyway, but the electors don't have to vote the way that the popular vote went. I think this actually happened in that election. I think a couple of the electors for like Hillary Clinton were like, yeah, screw the people. The people voted for Hillary or Trump or whatever, but the electors just decided, hey, we don't feel like doing that. We're going to vote a different way. It's just crazy to me that they could do that, and that was set up during the Constitution in case the smart people, figured that the population made the wrong choice. That's what this is how it's set up. It's insane. I'm like, you got to be kidding me with this. Like, this is real. I'm like, how come I've never been taught this? So, I got some messages coming in. I see some more being typed up. I appreciate you guys with your messages. I apologize for where this goes. This podcast always goes off the rails really quickly, but we have fun with it. All right, I got two here from Worm. Let's play them.
Yeah, I agree with you on humans and our choice of which animals to protect and maybe even make pets, and which animals we flat out don't care about. Right? Like you mentioned the lobster. Sometimes people make the argument that, well, certain animals can't feel pain. Lobsters scream as they
it's BS.
Like they definitely feel pain. But like you said, they don't look like us enough for us to care. It's interesting because you're going into the reverse of anthropomorphizing, where you're talking about a dehumanization of, say, certain groups in society. I think that's all pretty spot on.
Thank you. There's nothing better than when someone agrees with me. It makes me feel good. Although I do like when people disagree with me too, but I don't like it, but it helps me learn. I like learning. But we got Worm again. Buzzway, just so you know, we are on stereo, we are on YouTube live, and on TikTok, all under Philosophy Man 76. And you can check us out on Spotify under Cosmic Matters. All right, we do this every Sunday. Worm got another message. Let's play it real quick.
I think you're using the term works a little loosely there.
Works.
Does the electoral college even work? Some people would say no. It's confusing as fuck, and to some people it doesn't make sense, regardless of understanding how it's supposed to work. I don't want to get political.
Yeah.
I was more interested in hearing about your stance on morality and how it fits into your views on objective reality and truth. And
I'll get to
it. Moral subjectivism is possibly leading you down a road of indifference or an inability to tell what's right or wrong. But but they don't necessarily lead to that.
So, okay, great. Thanks. Thank you for that comment, because that put me back on track. Right, I'll turn the ship back, because I was turning in. I wasn't going to go to politics, but politics are a part of the game. So, answering your question there, we are playing a human game, right? So the objective is, how can we come up with rules? How can we come up with ideas that we will accept as truth, so we can therefore make it that we can ease the pain of everyone? So, like, objectively, on an objective level, the universe in the whole world span, when you're not playing a game, when you're talking about the we, as you're talking about the I as the entire universe, I meaning me, you, and the stars behind me in the picture, everything is, nothing matters. There is no there. It's just the idea of the universe will be here forever and ever. It had no beginning, it had no end. And the more we do more science, and if you see some of the other shows, and actually I think next show I'm going to do the multiverse, the multi worlds, or multi dimensions. But the concept of the universe just is playing, it's just going to be here forever. So there are no goods, bads, or anything, the whole concept, the whole thing that turned me away from a thought of like a God out there, a God being that was like the Judeo-Christian God of a all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good being, right? The problem of evil is one of the ones that steered me away from believing that concept, because it's like, if you have an all-knowing, all-powerful being that's all good, then there should be no evil. There should be no babies that are born, live in excruciating pain for 10 minutes and then die. But that does happen, right? And so now people used to tell me, oh, but free will. And I was like, well, free will is not an answer to this. It's not an answer to the problem of evil, right? You can have free will. All free will means that you have a choice, right? So you have choices of doing things. So God, if that definition of God was an all-knowing, all-powerful being, he would know, or she or it would know, how to create a world where you could have free will and not have evil, right? So there are choices that there are rules and laws that are in place that I can do and that I can't do, right? I have the choice to go and steal things, but I don't have the choice to spontaneously combust, right? Like, I can't just I just can't spontaneously. I can light myself on fire if I want to, but I couldn't just go, oh, let me just shake my molecules enough till I ignite, right? I don't have that ability. So that particular, in God, created rules that don't allow me. So I don't have free will. I don't have a choice to do those. I can't turn myself inside out. I can't do a lot of things. So, and I don't even think about them, right? I don't even think about all the things that I cannot do in this universe that don't exist, right? They don't even pop into my head. Infinite number of things. So God has ruled all those out, and still we have free will, right? So if you wanted to eliminate evil, he could get rid of evil things, and we just wouldn't know. And we would still have choices. We would still have the choice to choose A, B, and C, but we just can't choose D, which would be the evil choice, right? So to get around that, I was like, well, I had to come up with a better worldview. And my better worldview, the worldview I came up with, is that the universe is all one. And I didn't come up with this. I learned it all from listening to Alan Watts, right? And the fact that everything is connected. There is no beginning and end of anything, so there is no me and you in the sense of, when you're talking about the whole universe, like, where do you end? Where do you begin? You're constantly in, we're breathing in, we're breathing out, all the time. If I stop breathing, if I stop interacting with my environment, I immediately die. This, not immediately. take me, I think I can hold my breath for maybe 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes maybe, or I'll pass out. Right, but I'm tearing underneath this, right? So there's tears coming out. Constantly, I eat food, I take a crap. There's constant interaction that happens, and all the cells in my body every 7 years are different cells. Like the cells are constantly being destroyed. So, and then even if you want to go deeper into that, more than half of the cells in our body aren't even human, don't even have human DNA in them. So what is this you you're talking about? Like, who is this special you that is that you think exists, right? That was born and that dies. Like, it just is a change of form, right? It's just what the universe is doing. So the idea, the concept is, and I know I say this almost every week, it's like the ocean, and we are a wave of the ocean. We are not a thing. There are no things. It's just something the ocean is doing at a place that we call here and now, right? So when you see like a wave of the ocean, there isn't a wave. It's just the entire ocean at that spot looks like a wave, right? The entire universe in this spot right here looks like Matt Washington, and looks like Vermilion, and looks like Randy Lorenz. I'm sorry, I can't see. I don't got my glass. Right? So we are just one of the parts of the universe. We're just we're an appendage of the universe, right? So not separate. We didn't come into this world, we came out of this world. The idea, hey, oh, that's fine. It's funny, as soon as you left, 2 more people joined on stereo. So Worm joined on the YouTubes now. So the YouTubes, I sound like I'm like a 80-year-old person on the YouTubes. So anyway, so the point being is, this is why we need games, right? Because it's so hard not to go back into other concepts that I've talked about on different podcasts. But one of my first ones that I did here, where we talked about the universe as a whole, living forever, being around forever, how boring that would be. And I do believe there is a consciousness of the universe, right? And I like to just say the universe. I don't like to use the word God. Some people will call God. If you wanted to call God, for me, when people use the word God, it has a connotation of a particular thing, right? And most people will see God as something that is an entity outside of the universe, right? It created the universe. I see the universe as God, as we are all part of it, and I also see the consciousness of the universe throughout all of us, right? And we are just a manifestation. But I also think that everything is conscious, just on different levels of consciousness, right? So that's a whole. Actually, you know what? Let me. I'll since I came around full circle on this, is so I had this thought about. I was thinking about this actually as I woke up this morning and broke my glasses. The concept of consciousness on a cellular level, right? So we see ourselves as conscious, right? We see ourselves as like the awesome human being, right? And we believe that consciousness comes from our brain, right? So that, and we have reasons to believe that, right? So the consciousness comes from our brain, but we also have brains. Like, we don't remember anything before the age of like 1.5, right? So we have brains that are forming. And so where does this consciousness come in? Does it just pop out of nowhere, right? Is it there in where does it come from, right? Like, is there a certain number of cells? Like, I've used this paradox before, where I've talked about the paradox of the heap, right? Because I love Zeno and his paradoxes. And the paradox of the heap is simply, if you have 1 grain of sand, you do not have a heap of sand. And if you add a grain of sand and you have 2 grains of sand, you do not have a heap of sand. You just have 2 grains of sand. So therefore, the idea is, by adding 1 grain of sand, you do not create a heap. But if you continue to do this and add another grain of sand, another grain of sand, another grain of sand, eventually you will have a heap of sand, what we would call a heap. But there is no definition of when one more grain of sand turns it into a bunch of sand, or grains of sand into a heap of sand. There's no, there's no spot. There's no definition. Because if you said, oh, there's a heap of sand, and I took one grain of sand away, you would still say there's a heap of sand, right? And so I feel that consciousness is the same type of thing. Like if we saw one neuron, we wouldn't think that one neuron by itself is conscious, right? Just like if we see like an amoeba or a paramecium, right? I get to use my ninth grade biology words here, right? We wouldn't see a single cell organism as having consciousness. But what about when there's two neurons? What about three? What about four? As we're developing and we're growing more and we're adding more and more neurons, do we eventually get to a point where a consciousness comes about? Memories are able to be formed. And so it is what's called an emergent property, or the human. Now, what I believe actually is that consciousness is involved in every single. I believe that even one grain of sand is considered a heap of sand. It's just not in our terminology heap of sand yet. So I believe that consciousness exists in everything, in this phone, in this microphone, and in everything. Now, but it's a different level of consciousness, because consciousness is a term that we haven't really determined what that even means yet. And I am getting to my point. I'm going to get to this little video that I want to show. So the idea is at that level, adding more neurons, adding more things, adding more, it gets to a level of a different form of consciousness can emerge with enough neurons. Just like AI, when we add enough energy in bits, or however AI freaking works, information given to a different type. I'm talking here. All right, there, I'm back. I think my internet went off for a minute. All right. I see Worm had a message. Not that anyone asked me, but seems that consciousness emerges from certain biological and neurological networks that mimic that structure. Well, see, that would kind of be true. It depends on what your definition of consciousness is, right? So some people, when I've had this conversation about single cell organisms being conscious, like an amoeba, which is one cell, it'll move towards food, it'll move away from bright light, so it interacts with the environment around it. So henceforth, is that conscious? Is it making a conscious decision to move towards food, right? Or move away from light, or move away from heat, or something like that. So that's where our break. So that's why I use the paradox of the heap, because the word conscious is a thing that we he said is a thing that it's a word, and whenever we try to describe things, as I was talking about last week when we talked about lies, whenever you try to get fine, when you try to get specific with things like words, because words are divisions of the entire universe, right? When I say a finger, that is a division of it. We're trying to talk about a specific thing. We're trying to make a thing, but the universe isn't made up of things. Because what is my finger? My finger is not. Is it just this? Is it just this? Is it all these? Is it the fingernail? Is it my knuckle? Is it this part of the knuckle? Does that count as part of my finger or not? Where does my finger end and my palm begin? And so but we understand what a finger is because it's just we're playing a game called human beings. And so we can't have a conversation about the entire universe all the time, right? So we have to try to make inaccurate or piecemeal statements about the whole universe so we can communicate, so we can play the game, right? So we all agree that this is the finger. And this is the point that I was talking about the whole video, the whole podcast, is we have to come up with rules on how do we determine truth. What are we going to accept as enough information to be true? And we have to then put all of the things that we do consider true through the same criteria. Because what we tend to do, we tend to accept our team because of our reptilian brains. We accept things from our team that we don't sometimes accept from people who aren't a part of our team, right? I see this all the time as I have friends who post right now, in 2025, we're very broken up by are you on the left or are you on the right? Are you a pro-Trump or are you not pro-Trump, right? and I see people on both sides who will literally post every day 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 videos every single day. And the videos are all about, they're all in their echo chamber. They're all videos that are just trying to make the point that they accept. But if you took the same concept, so for example, right now there's a bunch of videos that are out. Well, one of the talking points of the right, for example, is the black man who killed the white woman on the bus. I don't know their names. I'm sorry. And he had been in jail like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 15 times. I don't know. And that's their talking point, right? Like they're like, this is not right. This is bad. Now, if you're on the right and you agree with the right, then you're like, it needs to be fixed. But on the same note, on the left, they'll look at that and they'll say, well, that's just one example. That's not really what happens. It's they look at that, and then because they just don't want the right to be right, they say things, they don't accept that. They go, well, look at this problem. Instead of even addressing it, it's like, well, let's look at this. What about all the black men who are in jail unjustly and the police that do this and do that? And so both sides, and by the way, and the right will do the same thing when someone on the left will post something, a police officer beating up a black woman, and they'll be like, well, we don't know the whole situation. In one scenario, they're okay with, they're soft on it, and it's like both should be wrong. We should have the same fever about all wrong or all right about anyone going against the rules, not just the rules of the side that we like. And I'm not, and it doesn't have to be just political. It doesn't have to be left and right. It could be about, there's people right now, there's a resurgence of people who are about flat earth, right? And then, or people who have all kinds of thoughts, and the vaccines, as far as COVID goes. And am I allowed to say that? It's 2025. Can we say that anymore? Anyway, who knows? The point being is we need to be able to come up with rules, with I don't know if I want to call them rules, procedures, things that we accept as truth, and whether we agree with them or not, we understand that they're true, right? And we hold the same standard to the things that that our team says. It's like if someone on my team killed someone, they're just as guilty as if somebody on the other team kills someone. right? They can't go, oh, they're on my team, I like them, so therefore, let's justify whatever they did that was wrong, whether we say kill, or we don't have to be extreme as kill, right? And this is the issue. How do we come up to things that are true all the time? All right. Before I go on any more tangents, there was some interesting space news. So let's take a breather. Let me pull up my space news. This is more from Big Finding. Here we go. Let me play it. Let me share here. All right, let's see how that looks. Oh, that looks good. That looks good. Beautiful. All right. There's some news here. Let's dive into this. This is space news. It is related to the topic. I always like to talk a little bit of space. We have our girl here, Astra Alexandra, who I love. By the way, if I think there's TikTok is doing an voting for some educator award, I would highly recommend voting for her. And if you're not following her, I definitely follow her. So here was some space news, some interesting space news that actually pertains to the topic of what we're talking about today. This is a short.
Away to an asteroid called Bennu. The spacecraft grabbed a chunk of it and brought it back to Earth. Since then, scientists have been analyzing it, and they found some truly insane things, with the most insane being announced this week. What we already knew from this sample is that the asteroid had high carbon content and water together, and together, those indicate the building blocks for life as we know it on an asteroid. It's also rich in nitrogen and organic compounds, and it's also covered in a mineral called serpentine, which looks a lot like a rock we find here at mid-ocean ridges underwater. Scientists think that this asteroid is a chunk of an ancient water world that has been traveling through space for billions of years. Gets crazier. On Earth, life uses 20 amino acids to create proteins. They found 14 of them on this asteroid. Also, you know the 5 nucleotide bases that are used to create DNA and RNA? How many do you think were found on this asteroid? All 5. Okay, now for the announcements from this week.
Ooh, hold on there, girl. So that was a bunch of stuff that we need to chit chat about. We'll bring her back in a minute to do the rest of that video. But somebody mentioned before about animal kind, dog kind, different places. So here's the thing. So they found an asteroid, right? They went up and mined it, and they found all 5 nucleotides in DNA and RNA, right? The nucleotides, by the way, you don't know what they're talking about, like the AGDT or something like CT, AGCT, right? So the building blocks of life. So one of the hypotheses, I won't say theories because I hate when people misuse the word theory, but one of the hypotheses of how life got started on Earth is something called panspermia, which is basically saying that how life got started it didn't happen. Like there's abiogenesis, which is basically the theory, or excuse me, the hypothesis that somehow life got started here just through chemical reactions, right? If you ever hear a theologist talk about this, they talk about a lightning striking some hot water or something like that, right? And so we don't know exactly how life got started, but we do understand that evolution theory, because evolution actually is a theory, and a theory, I got to make sure I always say this, a theory is an explanation of facts. Okay, talking about truth, right? Because we'll have some people say, well, evolution is just a theory. They don't understand what they're talking about. They don't understand what the word theory means. A theory, a hypothesis is a guess, right? It's a thought. It's like, okay, well, based upon the information, this is what I think is happening. And then what happens is we use a scientific method of testing these results, trying to put controls in place so that we can analyze the hypothesis and see, and then we let other people do it, and then we goes through peer review, and then we try to test it in different ways, and we keep doing this until we figure out if this explanation is repeatable and testable, and then if it is, then it becomes a theory, right? So evolution is a fact. The theory of evolution is why evolution happens, right? Which is natural selection through genetic mutation, right? So gravitational theory, right? This is effect, gravity, right? This thing falls. Gravitational theory is explaining why this thing falls. There's when two masses have every mass has a gravitational well, and we are in the Earth's gravitational well, and this has a gravitational well, but this gravitational well is not as strong as the more mass something has, the more gravity it has, and so therefore this falls towards the Earth, right? That's gravitational theory. But the fact that it's falling, gravity, that's gravity. It happens, right? So anyway, sorry, I'm going on a tangent here again, talking about explaining, right? So yeah, people have bastardized the word theory so much it upsets me. Where was I going with all that? Oh, so the point being is all the building blocks of life that we see here, that people say, oh, I don't know, it couldn't have happened. Here we have an asteroid that's floating around in space. There's water, there's carbon, and there's all the nucleotides there for RNA and DNA. So therefore, life could have just came from a different planet. We might just be Martians or any other planet out there. We're from, this asteroid that's floating around out there could hit another planet and drop, some RNA and DNA all over the place, and boom, you get some life, right? And so that's what they're talking about here. And again, this is something to me which is obvious, but life I feel like is pretty what's the word I'm looking for? Abundant. That's the word I'm looking for. Pretty abundant throughout the universe. But the universe is so big that it doesn't seem like it, and that things are so far away from each other. And by the way, I did have a little brain teaser. I was going to share it with maybe I'll hold off on it. I was going to share it with my guests if they showed up, but we are already at 11 o'clock. So, but talking about, actually, let's finish the video first. I know I'm all over. I'm trying. Let's finish the video. Let's go, Astro.
Scientists announced that on the asteroid, they found sugars essential for biology, specifically ribose and glucose. If ribose sounds familiar, it's because it's in the name for RNA. But remember the nucleobases? This means that all of the components needed to create the molecule RNA are present in the asteroid Bennu. This has huge implications. It could imply that RNA is more prevalent in the universe, and it could be the dominant form of early life. In the second paper, scientists also found a gum-like substance that nobody has ever seen on a space rock before, ever. And finally, scientists found an unexpectedly high...
So a gum-like substance would mean an interaction of sugar. The only way you get gummy stuff is between sugars, mixing, or something being heated, but you get space, panspermia. There we go. As far as where we go. Can I highlight that one? Yeah, there you go. So as far as that goes, yeah. So the concept of panspermia, right? It's how the universe works. We look at things like, when I look at how we make more humans, how all species are made, why do we think it's any different? Like, why do we think that we're some kind of special, thing, right? So yeah, there's huge rocks. This thing might be floating around and crashes into another planet. These are how planets are made. You see behind me, the Eye of God Nebula and all these stars and the dust and everything that's being out there, that's constantly being made, and more planets and more stars, and the expansion of the universe. Like, why do we think that this little planet here. It happens to which would be also, it's really hard to hit. But we've been here for 4.5 billion years. We don't understand how long of a time that is. It's a long time. You know, when I said before that humans, I feel like humans have been around for over 100 million years. It's like, for me, that sounds weird, right? Because what does a human live? 80 years with the average lifespan, 80, 90 years. How many times does 80, 90 go into 100 million? All right. I don't know. Let's do math. Math. Right. My teacher told me we wouldn't have calculators on us at all times, right? There's 100 million divided by 80 years. So it's 1.25 million lifetimes of humans, right? If and by the way, the average lifespan of a human hasn't been 80 years, or it's not even 80 years, it's like 70 years, 76, 75, 70 something. But the average lifespan of humans just 100 years ago was only like 40, right? So now you're up to 2.5 million generations of people, right? For evolution to take place over that time. And I'm pretty sure that even people before that didn't live even longer, less than that. But that's just 100 million for 4.5 billion years is nothing, right? It's a 0.045. 0.045? Might even be 0.0045. I don't know. I can't do the math in my head real quick. I don't feel like doing it anymore on here. So the point being is the scales of time, the amount of time that's been around for us to change and evolve and for things to happen are just immense, right? So it's hard for us to think about it because we only live, we put everything into our mindset. And it's okay because that's what the universe wants. The universe wants us to have anxiety, and it wants the drama, and it wants the knowledge and to learn things, all these things that the universe wants, because and why we forget and why we live and why we die is because the universe is going to be here. We are going to be here forever. And if you're going to be around forever, you might as well experience everything, right? You might as well get to be LeBron James. You might as well get to be the baby who lives for 10 minutes and dies in agony, right? You might as well be them all, because what else you got to do? You're here forever, right? So Worm went back to stereo. Let's see what we got here. We got two messages from Roguish Son. Yes, Roguish Son. Thank you. You were here last week. I appreciate it. Let's see what you had to say.
We call this thing a planet, but remember, planet actually means plate. You know what I'm saying? Indicative of it potentially being flat. If it's a world, if it's a body, it's not going to be flat, you know. But I think humans tend to project that how we see things is how things actually are, but in reality, we're only just seeing a fraction of it. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't. I hate for you to come on stage and then I got to. But hey, we're not all here to agree all the time, right? But let's see. I don't think plate is where planet comes from. Where does but we're gonna play your other message. Sorry, typing with one hand. I like to look up the etymology of words. Oh, have I really had this thing going over here in the wrong spot this entire time? Holy mackerel. One of these days I'm going to learn. So the word planet comes from the ancient Greek word. I knew this. Damn it. I hate that when I knew. Planetes. Planetes. Meaning wanderer or wandering star. Evolution of meaning. Let's see. Entry into English. The word from Old English, Greek, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but it might sound like plate, but that's not where the word comes from. Or might be spelled close. You can't do anything from English. English is a hodgepodge of ridiculousness. especially our English here in America. It's even more hodgepodgey. But appreciate you being here, Roger-san. And you did have another point in there that I can't remember, but let's play your other message.
We don't even see all the breakdown of the light spectrum like a lot of things do, and temperature and things. Other things in reality has this just within its basic awareness. We have to create artificial means to do such. So I doubt that we could have as accurate a forecast. You know what I mean? And this is also dealing largely with the non-body factors of reality, which we tend to overlook more toward that material fifth. I think truth is very relative for humans in a species dynamic, if you will.
Yeah, and the thing is, right? Well, I mean, there's so much more going on. And that's fine. We wouldn't. Does anybody know how we actually even discovered? It's not ultraviolet, not X-ray, infrared. So infrared was found because there was one of these 16th century people was looking at a prism, right? And they were shining a prism, and they wanted to see what the temperatures, if there was a difference in temperatures based upon the color range, right? So they took a big prism, they shined it down, they saw the rainbow of colors, and then they put the temperature into each color range and saw that each one had a different temperature reading, right? The blues were, I think, the cooler range, and then up to the reds was the hotter range. And then while they were writing it down, they took the thermometer and they put it outside of the red into a range where there was no light. There wasn't anything being seen. And they saw that the temperature even got hotter. And they were like, wait a second, there must be something there. Something's going on there that we can't even see. It's not visible light, but it did get hotter. And this is how this was the discovery of ultra red, right? Something along those lines. Right. So yeah, we need instruments like this is why we don't have good concepts of numbers and space and time. So I was going to ask one of my my co-hosts who didn't join today. Let's see if they jump on later. But I was going to ask them. I was looking up big and small. Right. I'm always fascinated by our inability to understand how big things are and how small things are. So if you go down to the smallest things, I haven't had my light on this entire time. Wow. Anyway, if you go down to the smallest things that are out there, which would be Planck length, like into the quantum, right? The smallest length is Planck length, which is 10 to the negative. Well, it's 10 to the negative 35 power, right? Which is the smallest distance. So that's in the quantum realm, right? All the way down. That's the smallest. That was where the universe was started. Like all of our physics break down at when you regress the universe from the big, from where it is now down to the Big Bang. At Planck length is the space of the entire universe squeezed into that spot, which is not nothing, but it's pretty darn close. It's 10 to the negative 35. I don't know if it's 35 or 38. I'm pretty sure it's 35 though. So everything down to that is as small as, so there's all kinds of stuff going on all kinds of levels down, just to understand how small it is, so you can put it in perspective a little bit. An electron is 10 to the negative 15, right? So we're talking about 10 to the negative 35, right? So we're talking really small. We're talking about adding another 20 zeros onto the end of an electron, right? The size of an electron. So we're talking small. And then you have the universe, 93 something billion miles across, billion light years, across. A light year, again, is 5.44 trillion miles. So you have 93, is it 93 billion? can't remember if it's 93 billion or 93 trillion light years. I think it's just billion. Got to remember all these things. How big is the universe? Eventually, I'll just memorize these things just because I keep asking the same questions all the time. But 92 billion. Okay, light years across. So 93, 92, whatever, same thing. So once you get to the fine tuning, we don't really know anything there. But the point being is, so 93 billion light years across. Now, a light year is 5.44 trillion miles, right? That's one light year. So now you take 3.44 trillion miles times 92 billion. That's a long way, right? It's just mind blowing is the size of the universe. Now, also, the universe is expanding faster than the speed of light, right? So understanding this concept, and I always like to do the millions, billions, trillions. I almost feel like it's not a show unless I do it. But to understand how much billion is, a million seconds is 11 days. A billion seconds is 31 years, right? So you're going from millions to billions. You're talking 11 days to 31 years, and a trillion is 31,000 years, trillion seconds, right? So now you're talking about 94.5 trillion miles times 92 billion is how far. So now that we've gone to the small and the large, I feel like I should be doing the small and the large again. What do you think we're closer to? As humans, on average, anywhere between 4 to 6.5 feet tall. I don't know what that is in kilometers or in meters. Some of the people who use real measurements in other countries might tell me. But anyway, are we closer to the Planck, or are we closer to the size of the universe? If you had to guess, what are we closer to? Are we closer to 92 billion light years across as far as our size, or are we closer to the Planck? Take your guess. And then I'll play these messages while you guys think about that, and then I'll give you the answer.
Yeah, when it comes to certain distances, both lengthwise, like how far something is in terms of distance, and then also time-wise, how distant something is. I think both present a huge challenge, and they should, because we're people who can only see so far around ourselves. We only live so many years. Why would we really have a concept of geologic time?
Yeah.
All the way back to Big Bang. That we can even have the concept of a global phenomena, to me, is wild. But it's what we're attempting to do, and I think it's very hard because the scope, the span, the scale is it's too big, much larger than we probably were meant to grasp.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And in the span of our lifetimes, it's like our lifespan has doubled in the last 100 years. We went from like 38 for most of human beings' existence. Our lifespans were 35 to, I think it's like 35 years, right? And it's only been in the last 100, 120 years that we've started getting to like live 60, 70, 80 years. And even that sounds like a lot. But, we're in like 2025. Can you imagine if we had to go back 1,000 years? 1,000 years to us sounds like a crazy amount of time. 1,000 years was what? 1,025? What the heck was going on? We're gonna, 1,025. There's no water. Like everything that we do today would seem like magic to anyone who lived in the year 1,025. With the fact we're talking on a phone, computers, lights, indoor plumbing, houses in general. Did they even farm? Like I don't even know. Like any they would take someone from 1,025 and bring them to today, and the whole world looks like a sci-fi movie, right? cars and all kinds of stuff. So airplanes. What is that thing in the sky? Like just be walking around mystified about everything, right? So what's going to happen in 1,000 years in the future on what we'll be able to do, right? And that's a whole nother talk. One more message. So yeah, but my point being is our brains are only trying to grasp how to survive for 40 years. That's all we care about. Like that's what our brains are. We, how do we get some food? How do we find a mate and reproduce ourselves? And that's about it, and try to have a little happiness, drink some water, and not get eaten by whatever is out there. That's what our brain is evolved to do. All this existential thinking about the universe, 1025 people are looking up at the stars and making up stories about Orion and this kind of stuff. So anyway, one more message, and then I'll tell you the answer to the question I asked you for.
It's interesting to think that we can calculate distances that we can never travel or cover, but perhaps maybe that's the whole point, getting one's species to the point towards where you can cover those distances just for the sake of doing so. What should it be done? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I guess that's quite advanced. You know what I'm saying? I guess we're talking Dyson sphere type things, right? But this society, modernized society now, I don't think that they're going to withstand that much green on the pool table. You feel me?
Yeah, but do you think about it, right? We know that it's possible. We know there's things like quantum physics exists where there's quantum entanglement, where there's particles on two different sides of the universe, could be on two different sides of the universe, and can interact with each other, right? Change their spin. Like quantum, the thing is, the universe wants to, we already know the answer. When I say we, I mean the universe. I mean all of us. I mean, we know the answers. We just forgot them because we're playing this game, right? And this game is of discovery, of learning new things. If you know all the answers, then it's not fun. The game's not fun. So you got to forget them, right? It's like if you read a book, if you remember how the book ends, then you're not going to read it again. But if you go, enough time goes by and you're like, hey, I forgot about this, or I forgot about these parts. To forget is a joy, because you get to learn again. You get renewed, right? So this is, I was talking about this maybe last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, or maybe just to Muhammad. But we were talking about how time slows down, like how the summer when you're a kid feels like it's forever. It feels like a summer, those 3 months are forever. But when you get older, summer goes by, winter goes by, everything goes by so much faster. And it's because you're not getting new experiences. You're not doing new things. Your brain has gotten a pattern recognition going on, and it's like, okay, we're just doing this again. But where you're not learning something new. When you're learning new things all the time takes forever, and this is why we have to continue to try new things and explore, because it's what the universe wants. This is what we want. We're here to have problems to solve. I have a whole nother podcast planned out talking about how we define ourselves through our problems, right? When you say I'm a doctor, you are defining yourself as someone who solves medical problems, right? If you're a secretary, you solve problems of, the phone ringing and typing up papers and this and that. Like however we do it, I'm a parent. Okay. Well, I'm a mother, I'm a father. Well, that means you're solving the problems of raising a child, right? And the problems exist constantly, and your idea is to try to solve them and fix them. And that's how we identify, right? So I would bring up Rise and Sun, but we're doing a short one today. I'm actually going to wrap up pretty soon here. But if you want to send me an email, my email is philosophyman76. And I will be glad to have you join us. I send out invites to our group and anyone who wants to join or is around on a Sunday can join up. But Flossman76 at Gmail. So if you guys ever want to be up or be on the podcast or on the stage, let me know, and I'll send you. I send it out right before, usually about an hour before on Sundays or Saturdays when I do that. But yeah, today's gonna be short because the eye is giving me issues. You guys missed the beginning, but yeah, my glasses were broken. So there they are again for those of you who weren't here at the beginning of the show. So I'm and my nose is running. I got allergies going on. So all kinds of right problems to solve. And I just dropped my phone. Another problem to solve. But anyway, so the point being is we express ourselves through those problems, and so the universe gives us lots and lots of problems to solve. And when we solve those problems, there'll be more problems. There'll be more small and big. So we look at like the universe, understanding that these things exist. But I do believe there are answers to it, but we got to figure them out, right? And when I say we, I mean, you know, all of us, human society. And maybe it isn't humans who get to go, who get to transverse the universe. Maybe we can download our consciousness into a robot and AI goes out there, and therefore we don't have the biological issues. You know, I was just literally watching yesterday Star Talk, and it was Neil and Chuck, and then they had somebody on who was they were talking about, like, not necessarily just Elon Musk, but they were talking about the concepts of us getting to Mars, like colonizing Mars by 2050, or, you know, us becoming the singularity. And the guy that was on, you know, he was obviously super smart, and he wrote a book about how these things are not going to happen in the time span that we have. And all he was doing was just pointing out all the problems. You know, he's like, you know, if you go to Mars, you have to deal with radiation, and you know, on Earth we have ionosphere and the Earth's atmosphere that shields us from radiation. So it's not just that you have to go to Mars, but you have no atmosphere, so you have a radiation issue. And you know, even the astronauts that are up in the ISS or that go to, you know, space or whatever, if they come back, you know, they're going to die of cancer in a certain amount of time. And nobody thinks about this. And then there's this problem and this problem. And all he was doing was just listing all these problems of going to Mars and colonizing Mars. And I'm like, yeah, we know there's problems. We know it's hard. Duh. Like, you know, to sit around and say, I'm making a book. My career is telling you how hard something is. You know, okay. We're not interested. I'm interested in, you know, the reason why Elon Musk has a lot of money is because he solves a lot of problems. Like, that's his thing. And he's trying to solve the hardest problems that exist. You know, autonomous driving is a really hard problem. The fact that starting a car company, I'm not going to go, I'm going to try not to go on Elon Musk. Forget about Elon Musk, the person. We'll call him EM, right? So some people get very upset about him. But let's just say a person who tried to start a car company, electric car company, without advertising, no advertising, and started a car company in America where no successful new car company has started since, like, I think it was like Chrysler, for over 100 years, and, you know, built the company that way. So it was very hard. These are hard problems. Neuralink is a hard problem. I was watching a bunch of things where they're trying to get 20 new Neuralink patients by the end of the year. So the people who solve the problems are the ones who make the most money, and they're going to fail a lot. And Elon, for example, makes a lot of money just because he tries to solve really hard problems that people thought were impossible. You know, he has a quote that says, you know, Elon Musk turning the impossible into late. so if we're not there by 2050, maybe we'll be there 2070. Well, big whoop. Okay. So anyway, I don't know why I got on that tangent. I was just annoyed by that guy. I was like, okay, great. It's hard. We get it. That's the whole point. Let's find more things. The harder things are, but I believe there are solutions to everything. Every problem that we have, there's a solution if we want to find it. And maybe we don't have to find it out ourselves. Maybe we use instruments. Maybe we use AI. Maybe we use something else. Maybe humans can't go that far, and we go different ways. You know, so there's no. And maybe the AI figures out how to make warp drives and faster than light speed. Anyway, who knows? But this is, let me land the plane. Actually, is there any more from Astra? Let's finish Astra. At least, and I didn't get to Neil and the whole thing about the internet. We'll have to do part 3, but it doesn't matter. I like conversing. I love the comments, and I like going on my tangents. All right, let's just wrap up. There's just a little bit more of this short video that she's in. So I'm going to rewind it a little bit, see if I can rewind it. Maybe not. There we go.
That all of the components needed to create the molecule RNA are present in the asteroid Bennu. This has huge implications. It could imply that RNA is more prevalent in the universe, and it could be the dominant form of early life. In the second paper, scientists also found a gum-like substance that nobody has ever seen on a space rock before. Ever. And finally, scientists found an unexpectedly high amount of dust produced by supernova explosions that predate our solar system. There is some huge space news, but it's a lot, so buckle up.
All right, that's it. So all right. So they found out there's more dust, I guess. I don't know why that's important, but it could also mean, here's the thing. I think life is prevalent. One of the reasons I love Star Wars so much is because it starts off in a galaxy a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, right? And the concept is it's a space movie. It's supposed to be about the future, but it's a long time ago, right? And the concept of time and how things, how much time has been around. If the universe is 13.8 billion years and the Earth is only 4.5 billion years old, then there could have been a whole nother civilization of Earth. There could be thousands of civilization Earth types of things that have evolved. I mean, where did this comet come from that has the RNA and DNA and everything on it? And it's kind of interesting that all these nucleotides can just float around out in space and not die, not break up. And we found an asteroid with one of them. I mean, of all the space that's out there, we found an asteroid, sent a rocket there, picked it up, and saw this stuff there. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure life is teeming throughout the universe, but it's really far away from us. And maybe that's a good thing too, because who knows? They might come here and just, get rid of us. that's another thing. Maybe we don't want to find the aliens, and or if we do find them, maybe we want it. Like any alien species that will be able to reach to Earth, just like as Roger's son said, if they were able to reach us, they would easily, defeat us, because their technology would have to be so far ahead, or their evolution would have to be so far ahead of us that we wouldn't even comprehend at this point. So maybe that's the whole reason we're so far away from everybody, because it's protecting us. Who knows? We can always look at it as a good or a bad in any other way. So anyway, all right, it is 11:21. My clear eye is now starting to tear up because of my allergies. So that means it's time for me to wrap up today. Maybe I'll have to do a part 3 of this, maybe not next week, because I do have some other things I want to talk about. Would be more space. I'm never all space. It's going to be space and philosophy all at the same time, but I'm glad at least we got some Astra out of there. Again, you can check these things out. By the way, thank you for being here. We're see you the entire time, Roger's son. And I see another person in here in this, and I can't make it out because I don't have my glasses on. Sarah Tonian. Oh, serotonin. I love the names. Thanks for hanging out here on Stereo. If you were on the YouTube live, thank you for being here. And we do this every Sunday, 10 to sometimes 11:30, sometimes 11:21, sometimes 12. If you'd like to be a guest, you want to be on stage, you want to chat, please send me an email to philosophyman76@gmail.com. And I'll just put you on the list, and you can jump on or jump off as you wish. It'll be great to have some people up here, so I don't have to talk the entire time. But with that being said, if you're going to be watching some football today, as I will, good luck to everyone on their fantasy football leagues. This is like, I think, make it or break it week, or last week for those who are doing that. And yeah, as usual, thank you for joining us here at Cosmic Matters, because everyone matters to me. So I will see you all next week. Thanks for the time. Ooh. All right, where are we? Let's cut the live. Cut the live. End stream.